Warning: the content in these videos is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. We do not condone or promote any of the actions depicted or described. These stories are presented to educate the public and share true events. Some material may be disturbing or inappropriate for certain audiences. We do not recommend that children watch these videos without direct adult supervision. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. True Crime Guide. On a quiet winter night in 1968, two teenagers parked along Lake Herman Road, talking and laughing about the future in a place where young people went to be alone. They never came home. David Faraday was 17. Betty Lou Jensen was 16. Their deaths were the first whispers of a name that would quickly become a scream across Northern California, a name that would arrive not in person, but in ink, in ciphers, in a smug, handwritten taunt. This is the Zodiac speaking. By the summer of 1969, the Bay Area had been jolted awake. On July 4th, under the neon afterglow of a holiday fair, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were shot at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Darlene died. Michael survived, carrying not only bullet wounds, but the memory of a man who moved in and out of moonlight with chilling composure. He would later give police a description that became the basis for a composite sketch of the Zodiac Killer. 2 months later, on a clear September day by the water at Lake Berryessa, the violence turned ritualistic. A man wearing a hood and a crude cross-circle symbol approached two college students, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. He tied them up, stabbed them repeatedly, and then, as if trying on a signature, left a message carved into the earth near their bodies, the Zodiac symbol. Cecilia died days later. Brian survived. His account added voice and detail to a killer who seemed to prefer to taunt and communicate more than to be seen. Then, in October 1969, in a city that should have felt safe, a taxi driver named Paul Stein was shot in the head in San Francisco's Presidio Heights. The killer had moved from lovers' lanes to a bright urban block. He had grown bolder, braver, or more reckless. He took something he could not replace: the ordinary trust of strangers. Weeks after that murder, a small envelope arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle. Inside was a scrap of Stein's shirt, a chilling confirmation that the killer held sway over life and death. The letter accompanying it was arrogant and mocking. The Zodiac demanded his letters be published and threatened further violence if ignored. The Zodiac's letters were a new kind of terror. They combined bragging with puzzles. He sent ciphers, including the 408-character cipher, which was cracked by two schoolteachers. The solution revealed a confession-like text boasting of killings, though it provided no verifiable motive. Each letter ended with his personal emblem, a circular cross resembling a target. Bay Area police were unprepared for such a predator. The killings were violent, seemingly random, and occurred across multiple jurisdictions that often did not coordinate. Composite sketches were circulated, investigators debated timelines and MOs, and every call brought the question, is this the Zodiac? Each letter intensified regional fear. Couples curtailed evening outings. Parents watched their children more closely. The killer's reach was psychological as well as physical. He claimed more than 30 victims in letters, a figure impossible to confirm. Survivors and families lived with two kinds of loss: the violent theft of life and the ongoing theft of certainty. Michael Mageau, Brian Hartnell, and the families of the dead carried memory like a live wire. The city itself became cautious, neighborhoods watchful, and everyday objects, a jacket, a scrap of cloth, a pen, potential evidence. Investigators built task forces, interviewed thousands, and meticulously examined handwriting, footprints, and faint traces of evidence long before modern DNA technology existed. Over time, one suspect gained notoriety: Arthur Lee Allen. Investigated extensively, he became a focus of public speculation and books. He denied involvement until his death in 1992. No charges could be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The case, stubborn and human, refused simple resolution. This uncertainty became the Zodiac's most insidious legacy. The case transformed neighborhoods into vigilant communities and ordinary items into potential evidence. It created copycats, fueled conspiracy theories, and propelled forensic science to revisit decades-old evidence. The Zodiac ciphers also took on lives of their own. The 340-character cipher, sent in November 1969, remained unsolved for over 50 years, defying amateur and professional codebreakers alike until partial solutions emerged recently. The puzzles kept the public engaged, exemplifying the enduring allure of solving the seemingly unsolvable. The story of the Zodiac evolved into a parable about terror, anonymity, and media. Movies, books, and documentaries reconstructed his voice and paranoia. Families of the victims watched these retellings with gratitude for attention, but also enduring grief that no narrative could repair. What kept the case alive was not the killer's name, but his anonymity. Unanswered letters, unsolved ciphers, destroyed or missing records, these created a vacuum for speculation. Survivors and relatives were denied the simple solace of knowing who was guilty. Investigators continue to re-examine evidence with modern DNA techniques. Occasionally, new leads emerge, sometimes promising, sometimes inconclusive. Every test deepens both understanding and doubt. The Zodiac case is not tidy. It is not a story concluded with a final photograph or courtroom confession. He killed young people with plans, dreams, and families. He left others alive to carry scars. He challenged law enforcement to develop new methods for an unusual criminal, one who weaponized media and letters, using communication as much as bullets. Communities moved on, marking birthdays and anniversaries despite the shadow of terror. Yet whenever a new clue arises, old fears return. A letter is read, a report reviewed, a photograph scrutinized. Obsession extends beyond investigators. It permeates the public consciousness. The Zodiac story warns about the dangers of speculation, the limits of proof, and the enduring impact of anonymity. We tell the story to remember names that might otherwise fade: David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Michael Mageau, Cecilia Shepard, Paul Stein. Each represents a life abridged, relationships altered, and futures stolen. Perhaps someday evidence will yield a definitive name. Perhaps not. Either way, the Zodiac case endures, a ledger of human cost, a symbol rather than a face, and a reminder of the quiet, persistent work of memory, investigation, and vigilance. Thanks for watching True Crime Guide. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. If there's a story you'd like us to cover, drop it in the comments below. Your favorite case may just be next. Until next time, stay curious and stay cautious.